Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Home and Finance Show. I'm Diana Rice-Wilkerson, lender with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and joining me is my co-host.
And my name is Janis Bradley, broker owner of JB Real Estate Consultants.
We are your seasoned, trusted advisors committed to personally navigating you through the home buying and home lending process. The show is designed to provide you with current and relevant information about different aspects of home buying, selling, and lending so that you're knowledgeable when making decisions for you and your family. You can also hear us on Saturdays on Praise AM 1310 and 95.1 FM. That said, if you're in the market to buy, build, or refinance, we'd love to represent you. You may reach us at the contact information below. Now on with the show. And today, we will be featuring Janis Bradley as our guest. But before we do that, hello, Shelly Guzman.
Hello there, ladies.
How are you?
I'm great. This is exciting. I love being here when you guys do your features. It's awesome.
Oh,
and
great.
It's all about Janis and her information today.
Oh,
It is all about Janis and her information today, and she's going to be talking about Americans still view home ownership as the American dream.
And actually, I'm going to do two parts depending on our time frame, But, folks, we always talk about wealth building, and we're always talking about definitely for people, we want our customers to buy homes and so on and so forth. And wealth building is my whole point. And how important I guess around the world for probably owning homes, that's for sure. So what I thought I would do a little bit different is just kind of, and this isn't anything I made up. This is obviously surveys from people. So I thought maybe I would share it with everybody. And if you guys got comments, please do. So it's talking about, we're going to be talking about, the American dream. And we're going to talk about, why people view home ownership as still being number one. So everybody's interpretation of the American dream is very unique and personal. But for many people, it's tied to a sense of success, freedom, and prosperity. These are all things that owning a home can help provide. So a recent survey from Bankrate asked respondents which achievements they felt most embodied the American dream. The responses prove owning a home is still important to many Americans today. Home ownership remains the number one feature of the American dream. And we have a graphic that kind of shows that exactly what we're saying. Owning a home, we're saying 74% are saying owning a home is really important to them. Listen to this, being able to retire is 62%.
That's a nice hot second right there.
Just the very fact that we're saying still number one is owning a home. A successful career is 61%, and having a college degree is 33%. So again, I think sharing these kind of statistics kind of help us exactly what's going on. So as the graph did show, home ownership ranks above other significant milestones, especially that retirement. That was interesting, including retirement or having a career or earning a college degree. So there's a recent report for the MYND helps shed light on why so many people value home ownership. It finds that nearly 2/3 of Americans, so 65%, see home ownership as a means of building intergeneration wealth. You guys want to kind of talk about that a bit, or just?
I love that you do that. Can I just say, because
please.
your clients are multiple generations. It may have started with the parent or the grandparents, and now it's the children and the grandchildren. And so that lesson has been taught and learned, and it really does help encourage the next generation to do that. And I've just with you and your clients, Janis, I love it when 3 different generations show up to see houses with you.
And actually, Shelly, I don't do it like I used to, but I used to always ask my customers, do your parents own a home? And they were either say maybe yes or no, but statistics also show that when parents own a home, 9 times out of 10, the children will, and so on and so forth. But you know what's interesting? The same thing that the renters. So if you've got almost like 3 out of 5 or 4 people who, down the line, they're still buying a home. The same thing with renters. So we're saying that the renters, if their parents rent, the numbers are almost the same, which is really not good,
Right.
So we want to encourage that. Again, the legacy of owning a home. The main thing we always talk about is talking about equity, and Diana she loves to give that kind of information. You just kind of well, it says here too that because when you own a home, your equity and net worth grows over time, and you pay down your home loan as high prices appreciate. Let's just stop for a minute. One of the things that Diana and I do on our radio show, we have a little spiel that owning a home is just like owning having a savings account.
Right.
And when you're making your mortgage payment, you know, you're gaining equity. And we say you can't do that but paying rent.
That's exactly right.
You know, so
You're just filling up somebody else's piggy bank, not your own. So
exactly.
Building up their wealth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, this can be a key factor in building generational wealth and long-term financial stability. That's a real long word for me. But most consumers, just think, 87% believe owning a home is important to living the good life. Notably, significant more having less stress as a benefit achieved by owning than renting. You guys want to talk about that for a minute?
I'd like to say that owning a home, number one of the first things it does, it fights against inflation, because many people have a mortgage payment, and that mortgage payment is going to stay consistent even while prices increase. So for many people today, right now, they have very affordable mortgage payments. But as these rates have increased and rent has increased, and we've seen it pretty much double and triple, their house payment has stayed the same. So with that said, they are still able to keep most of their income coming in each month, as opposed to having to pay the rent, the higher rent, which that keeps, unfortunately, causing a person to find money from somewhere because you need to live somewhere. So it's a really big deal for you to own a home, if for no other reason than to control what is typically the largest expense in most of our budgets, which is our rent or our housing expense.
Exactly.
And then the other thing about the equity situation, and there's a commercial, I don't know that I see it so much now, but I did.
I know.
But there's this commercial where the guy has a sledgehammer or has some kind of hammer. He is knocking his walls in because he's been told that the equity is in his house. And he's trying to find it. And so anyway, so the equity, though, is the difference between what your house is worth and what you owe. So if you happen to have a paid-for home, then if your home is worth $200,000 to $300,000 and you don't owe anybody, then that's money. I mean, in order to tap into equity, you either have to sell your property or borrow against it.
Right.
But nonetheless, you have an asset that can cause you to, make cash happen, so to speak.
Or, college, help the children with college.
Absolutely.
Improvements on your home.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just a ton of things that and I've had borrowers, Janis has had clients, we've had clients who've rented for 20 years. And so in 20 years, what do they have after 20 years of paying rent? They still don't own anything. And so that's the whole goal, is to put you in a position where as you live, number one, your mortgage payment's going to help you fight against inflation. Number two, your equity is going to improve and increase over time, which, like Janis said, is going to give you an opportunity, should you need to borrow money for education or for whatever reason. I mean, I've been refinancing loans and these borrowers are paying cash for cars so that they don't have a mortgage payment and a car payment. So, there's a lot more you can do. And that's why where the wealth building piece comes in. It's a little complicated, but worth definitely you looking into.
So, as we said, real estate still continues to be the #1 best investment. According to a recent Gallup poll, real estate has been voted the best long-term investment for 11 years in a row, beating gold, stocks, bonds, and more. I almost want to repeat that.
I think you should repeat
Okay, let's go ahead and repeat that. All righty. It's talking about how, according to this poll, real estate has still been the #1 best long-term for 11 years in a row, beating gold, beating stocks, bonds, and more.
And even if
I
you
was
don't
awed
understand
under that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand that, but even if you don't understand that, we want you to understand that. So call us so we can have a conversation. If you opt not to buy real estate or buy a home, that's fine, but understand this wealth building piece and why so many people rather invest in real estate than in bonds and gold and stock.
So we're talking about just the numbers. Real estate is 34%. Gold, keep hitting that gold's right under that real estate. So we can't, 26%. Stocks and mutual funds, 18%. Savings accounts, 13 cents, and bonds. What do you laugh at?
I'm laughing because, okay, you can live in your real estate because that puts a shelter over your head, but you can't live in your gold, and you can't live within your stock, and you can't live in your savings account, and you can't live in your bonds.
What can we say? That's why we're doing this show. So let's just continue on some of the information that I kind of wanted to share. So also, some of the things that we've been talking about, as we say, why does real estate earn the top spot? Well, it also means that it's more than just having a home. It's an investment in your future. That's because it's typically a stable and secure asset that tends to increase in value as time goes on. And Diana, that's what you were also saying. Because let's just kind of have this conversation again, because again, we are saying that rent constantly goes up and you don't have any control over it.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And you don't own anything.
And the fact that you don't own anything. But the only thing that's going to change in your home payment, your mortgage payment, could be taxes or insurance. Other than that, and you can count on it. It's something you can count on your budget. What renters have to do now is that they can count on the rent going up, And
a lot.
Yeah, maybe $100 and $200
yes.
A year, plus what's happening with a lot of the buyers that I work with. They have to give X amount of notice, like maybe 60 days notice. But if they try to do month to month because they're looking for a home. I have had situations where the landlord is charging them $300 more a month because they're doing it on monthly because they know they're getting ready. And I'm not exaggerating, So again. Not only does home ownership build a sense of pride, but it's an important step toward achieving long-term financial stability, and that's something that Freddie Mac, has come up with. Taking a deep breath and some of the other information we wanted to share. Let's see, I think I have some notes here.
One other thing, if you don't mind me mentioning it, is that it absolutely builds wealth and intergenerational wealth and equity, but it really gives you that sense of security. And with a lot of people, they have families and children, and it's school year time, right? Like, where are we going to live? What school are we going to go to? And that makes such a huge difference. I love it when I see those little videos of the kids, walking to the house. The parents haven't told them that they bought it yet.
Yes.
And they see their own picture, their own bed. They're like, wait a minute. I mean, the children are crying.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They're so grateful. And so it really impacts you emotionally.
Yeah.
It's not just a great financial, but it's a great emotional decision to make.
Go ahead.
No, you go
ahead. I've got a lot of talking to do.
I look at some of these big houses, like really, really big, right? Meridian Street big.
Yes.
And I told my husband, a lot of these homes have been owned in the family for years. I mean, years. So one thing about that, the kids, the grandkids, the great-grands, the great-great-greats, the seniors, everybody knows I got a place to come to.
Right.
Possibly they're so big, I mean, there could be multiple families living inside, which all of that, if you just think about it, if you're not having to pay a market rate rent payment, how much more money that puts back in your pocket. Whether you're putting it in savings, whatever you're doing with it, that's that whole piece about controlling that housing expense. And back to families, I mean, I know when I was in my early 30s, I had to move back home for a couple of years, you know what I'm saying? But if your parents own their home, because I was renting an apartment, right? And I was able to move back home, but just having that home base, for some parents, they like having that home base for their kids. Because, and especially today with the prices of everything being so expensive, that's not such a bad move, So there's just a lot, there's way more positives. And even for people who are concerned about repairs and things that pop up, there are ways to manage that as well, affordable ways. So don't talk yourself out of it. Kind of move toward homeownership, even if you have fears and concerns, and talk to someone who you can trust and just see what they say. But you can't go wrong with owning your home.
Yeah, and again, we hear people still say, there are some people say it's better to rent than to buy a home right now. But even today, there are so many good reasons to become a homeowner. One is that it's typically viewed as a long-term investment that helps your net growth, and we've talked about that. As we know, homeownership builds wealth, and we want to say that over and over again, regardless of income level. And you may be surprised to learn that homeowners across various income levels have a much higher net worth than renters who make the same amount. So here's some data from First America that helps illustrate this point. So it talks about the income level, and then you're going to have an owner, a net worth. So it talks about, let's say, if you make from 46,000 to 74,000, your net worth might be 191. So that's
If
kind
you
of
own your
if you
home.
own your home, exactly.
And then for a renter, your net worth is only $11,000. That's
right.
So that's a $180,000 difference. That's huge.
Well, that's because, too, that is where 95% of wealth is in real estate. And that's just across the board
Say
with
that
any
again.
and 95%. It could be a higher number than that, but most wealth is in real estate. I mean, that's why we're looking at that.
These kind of figures.
These kind of figures.
Yeah.
And so it's very important. I mean, mortgages, homes, my buyers who bought 2 years ago maybe paid $150,000 for their house 2 years ago. Today, it's $230,000. It's worth $230,000. I mean, you cannot get that kind of appreciation on any other investment that you can make. I mean, that's how wonderful this real estate thing is.
So we're talking about anybody who makes from 74,000 to 127. Their total worth is 261. Renting is 34. 127 to 192,000. Their net worth is 433, something of this nature. And they're renting. Your net worth is 117. So it's just letting you know, no matter what are we talking about as far as your worth?
And just so you understand too, the way you make that determination, viewers, is you add your assets, okay? You add your assets, so like if you have a checking, savings, 401k, add your assets up, and then you add your debt up, okay? So if you have a car loan, maybe a personal debt, maybe credit cards, but you take the value of your assets minus the what you owe. So if you have a home that's worth, say, $300,000, let's say you owe $200,000, let's say you have no other debt, period, zero, then you have $100,000 net worth. So it's just a simple math calculation, just so you know.
Absolutely. So again, just kind of giving everybody kind of an idea. So what makes wealth so much higher for homeowners? And it talks about it's the long time that's tied to the wealth building part, and for good reason. So instead of throwing rent money out of the window each month, owning a home allows you to build a home equity. And we're saying that over and over again because equity means equity, exactly that. And over time, equity can turn your mortgage debt into a sizable asset. We have seen that so much when the market had picked up, as far as people, even though the inventory was still low, hey, the buyers were, bidding wars and what have you, because they know this was really a very good time. So basically the wealth you accumulate when you do own a home has a lot to do with equity. And as a homeowner, equity is built up as you pay down your loan. And we're saying that over and over again for you to kind of really understand what it really means. So unfortunately, this isn't the same benefit that you're going to get with renters, and so that's what we're just going to share. Renters as non-homeowners gain no wealth benefit as home prices rise. The wealth that actually accrues is going to the landlord. So everybody kind of needs to think about that. So before you decide to sign another rental agreement, now's a good time. So give us a call and we'll help you figure it out, which makes sense for you. A lot of people too, I want to say this real quickly. People think a home, like, oh, that's a lot of responsibility. What about a condo? We want you to think there are other options, okay? So, and even whether young or old, it doesn't make any difference. It's still owning something, home ownership. All that goes into whether it's a condo or if it's a single family home, it's just simply, your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So I have to always throw that part in it because a lot of renters think, okay, they're thinking about this home and all of the upkeep, and sometimes it's their jobs. They're not even, they don't have the time maybe to do the lawns and things of this nature. Those condos work great for you.
That's exactly
and you pay
right.
an HOA for them to take care of the roof and all the exterior, and you just take care of the inside. But that's still home ownership. So I wanted to just take maybe a few minutes to get into some information from the National Association of Realtors. And just information, you guys, and I'll just go through it. But I think I did it a couple of years ago.
Shelly, she sounded like, don't shoot the messenger, you guys. She says, just information, you guys, don't shoot the messenger.
It is. But like I said, this is from National Association of Realtors and dealing with the characteristics. First-time realtors, first-time buyers made up 20%, and it's down. Is down from last year's 34%.
Wow.
Okay, so the first-time buyers is basically what we're saying. So this is the lowest share of first-home buyers since the data started being collected from NAR. That's what they're kind of sharing with us, just giving you the information. The typical first-time buyer, Shelly and Diana, was 36 years old this year, and that rose from 33 years old from last year. Now, the typical repeat buyer seems to be around the same age, almost like 59 years. Let's talk about that for a minute, why you think that it went from 33 to 36. Do you think that could be income?
I think so. Economy,
yeah, that's the first thing, the
home
economy.
prices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I
Exactly.
think too, all you hear everywhere on the media is that, interest rates are high. 15 million times a day you hear interest rates are high. But you have to take that into consideration when you consider that rent is going to go up $300 to $500 a month. And if you buy your house, it's for sure that payment for the next 30 years.
Yes.
So I think that age gap, it kind of is in that decision making.
I agree.
Do we do it? Do we not do it?
Right.
And I think that just plays into it a lot.
I totally agree with that, Shelly. There was some information I was reading that people are beginning to accept the fact that prices are going to be where they're going to be and interest rates are going to be where they're going to be. It's not to say they won't change some, but the 2s and 3s and 4s, for some people, they've been thinking that's where we were going to go back to. And so folks, I think, are beginning with the bumps in the rent. They're saying, hey, at least if I go ahead and buy my home now, if rates go down, I can refinance.
Correct.
So, but one thing for sure, prices of homes are not going to take any deep dives.
And they've been pretty consistent right now, which is really great. But Diana, I like that you have shared that. I think it just makes sense that it's inflation. So you were paying more for bread, more for eggs.
Everything.
My granddaughter, I think was a year ago, called me, Grandma, do you know that eggs, a carton of eggs, I don't know if it was $4 or something, but she was horrified, But the point of it is, I think now, it's our skin, our thickening of the skin, we're getting kind of used to the prices. So they're saying, why not?
Right.
Why not? The time is now, because again, you never know. But I like that. I like that, just kind of getting used to it. Another comment was that 61% of recent buyers were married couples. I don't know. You do a lot of lending.
Yes.
So you do more lending than I sell homes. So I think they're saying that's kind of an increase that they're seeing.
Most of my buyers are single mothers. I've not seen that for my market.
Okay.
Most of them still are single mothers.
And the 17% were single females, and we know we have a lot of that. There's no evidence about it. But anyway, I do like these kind of numbers, and they're talking about 14% of home buyers purchase multi-generation homes to take care of aging parents because their children or relatives over the age of 18 are moving back home for cost savings, and you talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why we want to give this kind of information for people to start thinking. And when I hear some buyers say, maybe they've decided to get even though a two-story might not be an issue for them, but they are kind of thinking ahead. My mother or my parents, are aging, so I really want to think about the fact, of having them come, live with me. So it's because that's actually what's obviously happening. So, but multi-generational homes, I think I even shared with you that I think it's been a couple of years, maybe not a couple of years ago, where I had twins that bought a home and together.
Right.
You know, and I think you have mentioned that you've had sisters buying homes together.
We've got
So it's a
people.
new way, you know, of life, and it makes sense.
It makes a
Whatever
lot of
makes sense.
And just kind of keep in mind, a $300,000 home right now is payments on average is about $2,500. The reason I mention that is because of this crazy rent. So if you're paying like $2,000 a month in rent, you know, really think about that. You know, the other thing is if you've got either your tribe, and when I say tribe, I mean family members, friends, cousins, whoever. But if all of you guys just look and think about all the rent. Like say you've got 4 good friends, and say all 4 of you are renting, just add up the rent that all 4 of you are making, the total rent that you're paying out each month, and just consider, could you possibly buy something together, right? Especially if you're tight, you know? But my point is too, like if on a $2,500 payment, if you're living by yourself, you're gonna probably paying $1,200 or $100 or more. And if you're in a relationship with someone and both of you are paying that out, maybe it makes sense to combine resources and buy something together.
I like that you mentioned about, you know, like children moving back or parents moving in. And I think you and I had this discussion a week or so ago about Lennar is building homes with that in mind. Like the home is prepared for that, number one.
Yeah.
They've got the common open space for the whole family.
Right.
And it's all on one floor, but
Yeah.
there are separate wings, if you will.
Sure.
And it's so, like you're saying, for what you're gonna get for $2,500, $3,500.
Right.
And all of it's in one nice place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go anywhere else to take care of your parents. They're right here. You've got your eye on them.
Right.
I think that's a great idea.
And these parent homes or these villas, you know, we've actually seen situations where the parents might be on one side and the children on the other side. I mean, obviously they were adult children,
Right.
you know, so things have just changed and we've just got to learn how to just go along with it. Apparently, even with the veterans, 22% of recent buyers were veterans, and apparently that's kind of gone up a little bit. So, I guess we just want to share with everybody, you know, that we've talked about the wealth building. There's no ifs and buts about that.
Right.
And then we're also talking about, you know, the first home buyers have increased also is what this
Because
information.
everybody's got to live somewhere.
Everybody's got to live. Dinah loves to say that.
Everybody's
But
gotta
we are so glad that you have tuned in today. And hopefully you've learned some information from our shows. And just wait till next week. Tune in next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.